guys.
Hello again. Yes, indeed.
Okay, so 2020 forecast. I know a bunch of you guys were there. I know, obviously, we saw a bunch of people from CIR at the event, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I also know a whole bunch of you complained that there was no hot breakfast.
Yes, indeed.
I will take that message back. I'm sure they already know it at the board. But other than that,
Mm-hmm.
let's kind of give a recap to them about
Mm-hmm.
what our perspective of what we learned while we were there.
Yes, the message that was given.
Yeah.
With respect to volume and sales activity,
Yeah.
I believe the number was going to be that things will improve on a volume perspective by about 2%. So we're anticipating a little bit more sales this year than we had last year,
Yeah.
which is not a bad thing by any means.
Yeah, oh, that's
Yep.
awesome.
Kind of going back to the beginning of last year, of 2019 with the forecast, it was predicted that employment would go up in 2019, but it wasn't anticipated to go up until the end of the year.
Yeah.
And that forecast came true.
Yeah, they were pretty accurate last year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now
2019.
leading into this year, you had made a comment earlier about how, Steve was running the numbers and we had a really good January.
We did, yeah.
Assuming employment was up by the end of the year of last year,
Makes
like it
sense.
was,
Yeah.
a few more houses were purchased. So that being said, hopefully the forecast this year, hopefully it's not wrong and we don't see any decreases
Yeah.
and whatnot. But a 2% increase in volume is something to look forward to. And assuming that is true, you've got a lot of clients out there right now that are thinking, what are my options going to be in 2020?
Yeah.
So engaging them and letting them know that, what their options are with respect to values of their homes. You had mentioned earlier when we were discussing this that a reminder is that it's a good time to maybe look at moving up.
Yeah.
So the market for
Totally.
under 500,000 still continues to be the hottest showings.
Yep. Most sales activity.
Most sales activity.
This is probably the strongest is under 500. And then
Yep.
once we move into the luxury stuff, obviously less sales, prices coming down, that kind of thing, which is a great opportunity for people who are looking to move up. My kind of 2-second summary of what I took away from it was this is pretty much our new normal. I mean, I think they said that again last year. In Calgary, Calgary's unique, obviously. We see this boom bust thing that a lot of the other cities don't really have in the same capacity. So we are all used to the really great times when it's, all kinds of sales and it's busy and, just deals are flying at you.
Yes.
Those are good days.
Yes.
But we haven't had that in years and years and years now. And
Right.
this is just kind of the new normal. We're pretty stable at this point. Anne-Marie Lurie, who is the economist at CREB, said many, many times, we're seeing a little bit more activity, like you said, in this year, but prices aren't going to come up. And really, when you think, take a step back and look at it, why would they really change? There's nothing significant changing in the city or with employment or with Amazon's not coming. There was
Right.
a big hype about that at one
Yep.
point. If nothing big changes, then, anything big change?
Right. Right.
Probably not. So if that's the case, then what are we going to do with it? And we saw tons of agents have a really great year last year.
We did.
Because they took a step back and readjusted their business to go with this new normal that is just kind of slow and steady.
Yep.
I know we talk a lot about it, but I'm a huge fan of real estate reviews. I know
Yes.
that you are too. And for those of you who are kind of sitting back and, not maybe need an attitude adjustment about, where you're going in your business this year, this is a great time to do a home investment review with people.
It is.
Or a real estate review, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
People don't know their houses are worth with the instability that we've seen over the last couple of years. If you haven't been doing them with people, they probably have no idea what their house is really worth. And they're going off of what their neighbor sold for
Yes.
or what their friend in some other community sold for. It's just they're just not educated on it. So sit down with people and spend the time. And I'm telling you, deals come out of it. I've seen so many agents come in my office and say, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't have any activity going on with my database. do some real estate reviews, and literally they have listings
Yes,
and referrals, and it's just like, it just really gets stuff moving. So
it does. Well, what's interesting is a lot of us have had clients over the years where maybe they bought in 14, maybe they bought in 2013.
yeah,
And their outlook is that the market is really bad, they bought high and they can't afford to sell now. What's interesting is that I've found that the agents that have been doing these reviews and have been engaging their database and having those tough conversations,
yeah,
a lot of our agents might feel like some of the onus is on them, that a house was bought here and now it's worth here.
yeah,
The truth is, just remind yourself and remind your client, at the time we made the very best decision with all of the information we had, and we put you into that home. Now, those agents that are doing those reviews and engaging their clients don't perceive them to be running, but trying to at least be accountable. Not that they made any mistakes,
No.
but be accountable to help them understand the market. And from that, they get that good confidence in their agent,
yeah.
and they're quickly to refer that agent out to their friends and family.
Well, and that's exactly it. Even if they're not looking to move, which is where a lot of people kind of struggle with, okay, why am I going back to my client if they're not looking to
Yep.
move? That's completely irrelevant. Who
It is.
cares when they're moving? It's if they're never moving, it's irrelevant. They have friends and family that are going to move.
Yep.
And if you can sit there and say, look, it sucks. This is, you bought in 2014, your house is worth 70 grand less than we bought it for. That's not great, but you can earn that trust and you can still be that valuable person to their life.
That's right.
In that capacity, and they will refer you out. They will.
100%.
So,
And at the very least, you've given them some peace of mind. No, they're not wondering anymore.
yeah,
And if they're faced with some tough times ahead, maybe job losses,
yep,
they're going to reflect on what their home is worth and likely not make a bad decision by selling just to get a little bit of equity out, just to go into a rental market where they're going to pay equivalent costs.
yeah,
They can more quickly adjust to make those right decisions,
yeah,
and they'll be thankful that you were in their life to give them that information to get rid of that uncertainty quickly.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
One thing I love about what we're doing now, Steve is sending out on a weekly basis the showing volume.
Yeah,
for
that's
price
interesting.
points. I love it.
I do too.
I absolutely love it. If I was selling in this day and I had a client that had a home in whatever price point, I could look them in the eye in front of them in a weekly review, or an annual review,
Yeah.
and I can tell them, there's not a lot of people looking at your home value right now. Or look, we've seen that from December to January to February, there's been a much bigger increase in your segment.
Yep.
And in your specific community, there's not a lot of competition. So you would be good to list right now.
Yeah.
Or like we said earlier, the move-up homes. We're seeing a massive amount of showings in those
Yeah.
segments compared to, the 600 to 700, the 700 to 800. It's a good indicator that, homes are moving, people are buying.
Yeah.
And again, watch your market and supply and demand. And
It's just a really good tool to have in your tool belt. It's
It
a
is.
really easy and quick way to just look at the information in a very easily digestible manner and just know your facts.
Yep.
It's just such an easy. The other thing that I really love in the same, that's really fast, kind of easy way to get yourself up to speed on something like that is the HPI summary. I don't know if you've ever used it, but it's actually a very complicated document.
Right.
But if you're, let's say you're going into a listing or something in a specific community, the HPI summary report, which you can find on CREB, basically has a one-liner for every community for each type of product. So let's say you're doing a detached home in Tuscany. It will say detached in Tuscany and what price decrease or increase they've seen over the last 6 months, 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years, I think. So it's a really easy way to just quickly get yourself up to speed on what's happening in a community.
Right.
And it makes you look like a rock star if you walk in and you're like, yeah, this community's gone up by 50% in 10 years.
Yep.
But knowing those intricacies quickly
Yes.
is ideal.
Well, and on our virtual office, if you go to the professional development page, you can go into, there's various videos on HPI that break it down,
Yeah.
explain how it works. So a good quick refresher on that is right on our virtual office. So,
Perfect.
Yeah. So jobs for the forecast. What came out of the forecast in terms of employment for 2020?
Anne-Marie kind of outlined this as one of the larger risk factors that we have in 2020. I think we probably a lot of us saw this in the last year or two or 4 years even, with friends and family, just instability in the employment sector. It's all the employment sectors. I know I've seen it in like the construction industry. We've seen it with some teachers. We've seen a couple of deals that fell through because people lost jobs after firm conditions.
Yes.
Before possession, which is obviously not ideal. So we have seen some of the effects of this for sure. But that is kind of one of the larger risks. However, she did kind of go in to say that there are some positive outlooks, that there is some stability coming back to the market, the new construction side, which is interesting on the builder side of it,
Yes.
but which we can talk to in a second.
Yep.
But that employs people too. So while, in some capacities, the new home sale market increasing or the supply of that product increasing may not always be ideal for agents, because it does obviously affect the resale market.
Yes.
But at the same time, all those houses being built have people who build them.
Yes.
And have jobs because they're being built. And
Yes.
those people also buy houses too. So
They do.
there's positives and negatives too. Kind of all of it.
Yep. When I think about the summary that Anne-Marie gave about sales going up 2%, their prediction is that prices will decrease by approximately 1%. When I think about that, and I think about how I'm educating my clients that are looking to buy, some of them, they're going to listen to friends and family. They're going to read what they want and see what they want in the media reports.
Yep.
If prices went down 1 or 2 or even 3%, I would argue that if interest rates go up even 0.25%, that it's a much better time to buy sooner than later. Because you might save a couple grand, or you might save 10 or 15,000 on the purchase.
Yeah.
But if those interest rates go up at all, it's going to be a moot point. You're going to be losing even more. So it's a good discussion to have with people that are thinking about buying, the forecast that is, and really helping them understand that waiting could be to their detriment if they were to find the right house now. Now, our mantra at CIR, I don't look at us as salespeople. I look at us as people that help people understand their options. And when the time is right, our clients buy or sell.
Yep.
So this information, at least the forecast, it's what we have to work with from the people that are predicting our market.
Yep.
And it's a great discussion to at least have to get things moving and keep in flow with your clients, especially those first-time buyers.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's a great time to buy.
It is.
If I could find a house, I'd be buying.
We know this because you've been looking for a few months, haven't you?
I know. And the market I'm looking in does not sound to be decreasing. And the supply is very low.
Quick disclaimer to save Chloe's inbox. She's seen everything on the MLS.
Yeah, don't send me anything unless it's a pocket listing.
Oh, fantastic. One thing, David Anderson, the management team here, we definitely collaborate. We talk about a lot of things. And David brought up a good point. And it's something that we can't dive into too much because there's a lot of variables that are at work here. But David had made a comment about some of the new builders. They're in a interesting predicament. They, in order to keep the lots that they have in some of the areas, now we're not saying this to be factually true, but it's something that is on our radar. It's been said that in order to keep their lots and be able to sell in certain developments, they have to sell a certain amount of lots and a certain amount of homes on an annual basis. And it's leading us to believe that there may be really good deals to be had in some of the new developments, not all, because the builders have to get product moving.
Well, they have to keep building to keep their position in the community, and they have to sell those pieces because they don't want to hold on to a ton of inventory.
That's
so
right.
Yeah, we've heard from you guys. The feedback from you guys is that there's some good deals to be found. I will caution you, because I've seen this come up a few times in the last year. Don't forget to register your clients with new builders.
Yes.
If you are working with people who are even considering working with new builds, have that conversation up front. I know I always had it with my clients, with my buyer clients right up front, even if they weren't thinking of doing a new build, just to let them know, like, I can help you with new builds too. Kind of explain the process to them and let them know that I have to register them if they want representation. I talk about that well before it becomes an issue, because it becomes an issue.
It does. It does.
So if it's a thing,
Yep.
just make sure you register your clients with the builder and do it in writing and get the signatures and keep it on file. Don't rely on the salesperson at all.
That's right.
Would be my suggestion.
I would agree in full.
Yeah.
And what we're saying about the builders with their inventory levels, this isn't something that's in stone. So you have to do your own research. We're planting the seed to get the discussion going. We're hoping that you agents that are really tied in and associated with builders will weigh in on this and help our entire agent base form their opinions based on your expertise in the industry. Check in with your builders and see if this is, what we're saying is factually true, because it's a good heads up for all of us. One thing to consider is if you're representing buyers and looking for product in areas closed in area to new builds. Can't talk this morning. If you are looking at areas where new builds are, only a kilometer or 3 or 5 kilometers away, you are doing yourself a disservice and your clients a disservice if you don't go visit those builders on your own free time. Find out the inventory. Find out what a 2,200 square foot home with Jamin is, the same 2,200 square foot home with Sterling is, and so on and so forth. Find out what's being thrown in with the deal so you can advise your clients on which builders actually have product for them. The crazy part is in the process, you're going to be better at doing your CMAs, because you're going to find out what it costs to build on a green space where there's rear architectural controls versus a fishbowl type home that has a walkout basement that doesn't back onto green spaces. Getting this information will help you with your CMAs. It's going to help you with your listing presentations when those homes come up for sale in the next couple of years and you're being called in. But also what it's going to do is it's going to put you in front of those builders. So if your client blindsides you and goes and visits them without consulting you, you can walk in the next day and say, hey, my client's rolled in, you've seen me, and hopefully they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Hopefully.
I know it's worked for me in my career where I had a good relationship with the builders, and when my clients just randomly stumbled into an area, I was able to get compensated because I educated them and helped them, but it's only because the builders knew my face and they knew that I had been in before. So do your homework, talk to them well in advance, visit the builders, know their product, and you can be well informed to help them make the right decision.
Okay.
All right. How are we for time?
We're
almost at 10:30.
But we started late, so.
Well, I think we should do a quick break, and then we'll get into the quick connect commonly asked questions.